What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am Deus Ex Magna. This is DEM Sports. We're talking all things West Virginia football and college football in general tonight. First of all, like I said in the last video, didn't get to see a whole lot of our game. Labor Day weekend is always rough for me. I actually go back home to Morgantown on Labor Day weekend pretty much every year, but we have a big group meetup of friends and family and stuff. And great friends, but a lot of them are not big sports fans. So not a lot of sports watching over Labor Day weekend. And it's a real shame because Labor Day weekend recently has had some of the greatest college football weeks. This week, I'm sitting around doing nothing at home all day, all weekend. I got nothing to do, nothing planned except for watching college football and sports. There's practically nothing on. There's hardly any good games on. I mean, obviously WVU plays, but yeah, kind of sucks, but got to spend a lot of, quality time with family and friends. So that's what it's all about. We did go to Screech Owl Brewing, and I got to see the second half of the game, a good bit of the second half, on the TVs there. Really cool brewery if you're in the Morgantown area and want to take a trip out there. I think it's about a 45 minute drive. Yeah, it looks like the second half was the good half because just getting score updates on my phone, man, it looked pretty rough there. And the first half was a 10-3 at halftime, but we turned it on the second half. Nico looked great. That defense, if you watch my last video, you know how big I am on defense and how much we need defense. Held them to under 150 yards of total offense. I know it's Robert Morris, but man, I am pumped. I am psyched for this season now. That defense looked like everything I want it to be, forcing turnovers. One thing I heard about Zach Alley is that sometimes his defenses will sell out for a potential turnover or a big play. So might get burned a little bit, but more often than not, they will come up with those big plays. I'm hoping that they continue to improve and get better. And I love the way the schedule is lined up where we started with an FCS, then go to a group of 6, and then, the big Pitt game. Oh, speaking of, in today's episode of Today I Effed Up, I did not even think about it. I don't know why it just didn't dawn on me when we were booking this trip that I'm going to be on vacation going to the beach over the weekend of the Pitt game. Whenever we were booking, they were like, what weekend works for everybody? And somebody shouted out September 10th through the 14th or whatever. And I looked at my calendar and I didn't have anything on there. I'm like, oh, yeah, I've got, Labor Day weekend this weekend. And then I've got on September 20th, we're going to a concert. And it's like, yeah, I can do that. And now we've already put down these huge non-refundable deposits. And it clicked in my head sometime in the last few days. I was like, So, yeah, if anybody's got sports bar recommendations for Ocean City, Maryland, drop them down in the comments. Let me know where to go to watch the game. Preferably someplace where I can still see the beach. That'd be awesome if there was a sports bar like right on the boardwalk. It's probably been almost 20 years since I've been to Ocean City, Maryland, at least 15 years. So, that's what I'm going to be doing. But anyway, I could not be more excited about the direction that West Virginia football is trending right now. Very good. Now, big picture, I know a lot of people were kind of down on the Big 12. I know, especially after this first couple of games because Baylor lost to Auburn, Colorado lost to Georgia Tech, and that game hurt because Georgia Tech, I don't think there was. I mean, they're always like good, they're never bad or rarely ever bad, but Colorado was supposed to be one of our contenders this year, and I think Georgia Tech was just supposed to kind of be like a middle of the road ACC team. So that was that one kind of hurt, but otherwise I don't think we did too bad. I put together this little ditty where you can see I've got broken down my conferences. I have their overall record, overall versus lesser opponents, and then I broke it down even further. So the ACC went 3-4 against Power 4 teams, 4-1 against Group of 6 because Stanford lost to Hawaii in week 0, 5-0 against FCS. Big 12, we went 14-3 overall. This also does not take into account the Iowa State Kansas State game because you just add one to the win and one to the loss. I mean, it's kind of I didn't see any point in putting that in there since we were playing ourselves. But 12-0 against lesser opponents. Now, we did play the most FCS opponents out of anybody. I mean, by a big margin. We went 9-0 against FCS, 3-0 against Group of Six, 2-3 against Power Four. I mean, not bad. About the same as ACC. They went 3-4. We went 2-3. Now, the Big Ten, they went 16-2 overall, 14-1 against lesser opponents. Northwestern lost to Tulane. So only if you're astute and paying attention here and you're looking ahead, only the Big 12 and the SEC is undefeated against lesser opponents. Big 10, 2-1 in the Power 4, 10-1 against Group of Six, and 4-0 against FCS. So they played by far the most Group of Six teams. SEC 4-2 in Power 4, so best winning percentage against the Power 4 teams. We'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. But took care of business against lesser opponents. Actually, this should be 10-0. I don't know why I put 9-0. There we go. Fixed. Live recording, fact checking. Oops. All right, so 10-0 against lesser opponents, and 14-2 overall. So SEC didn't do bad, but if you break down their Power 4 wins, a couple of them aren't the greatest. Tennessee beat Syracuse. Now, Syracuse was supposed to be one of the better SEC or ACC teams this year. They won 10 games last year, lost their quarterback to a fellow ACC school. Was it? No, it wasn't Syracuse. It was Syracuse didn't lose their quarterback. Who'd they lose? They might have lost their quarterback. I don't know. Anyway, Syracuse... they had pretty big expectations coming into this year. So to get blasted the way they did by Tennessee was probably a little disheartening for them. But it was like, SEC, they beat Syracuse, Baylor, a couple, lower teams. They lost, the two losses were big. They lost, Alabama got blasted by Florida State. And Texas just looked bad against Ohio State. I did not see that coming. I thought Texas was going to win by a large margin. Arch Manning looked terrible, especially in that first half. I think he went into halftime with like 39 yards passing or something. That's got to be a little concerning, especially if you're a Texas fan. You're supposed to be the number one team in the country, and all this hype around Arch Manning. That was pretty bad. So where do I have them? So I was going to do like a power ranking or something, but I thought maybe I'll just do winners and losers. I think obviously the big winner of the weekend, the Big Ten, the Ohio State win over Texas. And, they've got the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. They've got, Ohio State's number 1 now, Penn State's number 2. They took care of business, albeit except for Northwestern, who's absolutely terrible. But, they played all these Group of 6 teams more than anybody else. So not only do they have 2 big wins in the Power 4, they have, they played a lot of Group of 6 teams, a lot less FCS teams. So you can't really argue that they're not the best conference in the country right now. The other big winner I'm going to put is the ACC. Simply because of that Alabama win, or the Florida State win over Alabama, that Florida State looked good, so maybe they're back. And Clemson lost to LSU, but it was still a pretty close game. Miami beat Notre Dame, which I guess Notre Dame is kind of affiliated with the ACC, so I'm not sure if that's supposed to help or hurt them, but I'm gonna consider Miami being the ACC team there and Notre Dame being independent. And so for Miami to beat Notre Dame like that, I thought that was pretty impressive. So 2 big wins in the Power 4, and then of course Georgia Tech beating Colorado. So maybe Georgia Tech's a little better than we thought they'd be, or Colorado might be worse than we thought they'd be. Big loser of the weekend. I got to get at the SEC. The SEC didn't do much to really improve everyone's thinking about them or perception. I mean, Texas losing the way they did, Alabama getting blasted. Those are two of the biggest names in the SEC that, you always think about Alabama as just always being a contender. Actually, I'm almost starting to rethink maybe we shouldn't have gotten out of that Alabama series if they're going to be this bad. I heard a stat today on the radio. That new coach down there has lost 4 games to unranked opponents, and he's only been there 14. He's only coached 14 games. Nick Saban lost 4 games to unranked opponents in his entire tenure there. So, yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. That was something they said on the radio while I was driving to lunch. So somebody can fact check that. Let me know in the comments if that's right or not. But if that's true, that is crazy. And I don't expect that coach to be there very long if that's the case. The SEC, their big win of the weekend was LSU beating Clemson, which if you watch my very first video, is it the very first video? No, second video, I think it was, I ever made. You know that I did not think Clemson was that good. I thought they were overrated from the very beginning of the season. So to me, that's not really that big of a win. I guess it was at Clemson Stadium. But I think the SEC is, they're still good, but I think that they hurt themselves more than they helped themselves this weekend. Where's that put the Big 12? We're holding steady. We didn't do anything to embarrass ourselves, although Kansas State really, really tried against North Dakota. I just had ND written down and brain farted to Notre Dame. But needed a last-minute touchdown. I think they scored the go-ahead touchdown with 1:03 left or something like that to beat an FCS opponent in North Dakota. So, I mean, honestly, that not only makes the Big 12 look bad, that almost makes Iowa State's win over them in week 0 look a little worse, because now it's like, how good or bad really is Kansas State that they, but this comes back, and you're going to get sick of hearing me say it. If you're going to play an FCS team, play a bad FCS team, because you have nothing to gain by beating them and everything to lose by losing to them. But at the end of the day, we did win, and we went undefeated against lesser opponents. So we didn't really do a whole lot to improve ourselves. Utah looked really good against UCLA. TCU absolutely blasting UNC Monday night. The whole country's eyes on them. That only football game on. So if you're a football fan, you're watching that game. There's been so much build up all off season about Bill Belichick coming back. But I don't know how good Notre Dame was really. I keep saying Notre Dame. I don't know why I have Notre Dame on my mind. North Carolina was really expected to do. They had 70 new players. So, I mean, were they supposed to be good just because they got this Super Bowl winning coach who didn't do anything before or after Tom Brady? So, I don't know. Maybe UNC really isn't that good of a team, but kudos to TCU for not folding under the pressure. I don't know if anybody saw Skip Bayless. He was ready to crown UNC national champions 5 minutes in, and saying that their offense was going to be national champion contenders. And how'd that work out? So, yeah, you can go check it. It should still be up unless he deleted it later. That's the only thing I will give him props for, is not deleting it. He's standing by it. But what a bum. But yeah. But that made the Big 12 look pretty good. So the two big things that we did this weekend was Utah crushing UCLA and TCU crushing UNC on national TV in front of everybody. Everybody was watching that. And I mean, I don't know how many people were watching Utah UCLA. An old school Pac-12 after dark matchup there. But yeah, we're holding steady. If I had to do some kind of like a power ranking, I would probably put the Big Ten first. Like I said, you cannot argue that they're the best conference right now. They have the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. I guess SEC second still. I mean, despite Texas and Alabama both losing, they still do have a lot of good teams. I would probably put the Big 12 second, though. I mean, especially if you're going top to bottom. And then probably the ACC last. the ACC, I don't know. I still haven't seen enough of them to really think that, what they're going to be like the rest of the season. But anyway, that was my thoughts on week 1. I'll probably continue to do something of this format each week, some kind of a power rankings for the conferences and stuff. Once you get into conference play, it's a little bit harder, I think, because, whenever a conference is playing themselves every week, how do you know how good they are? Which that's what I've been saying about the SEC forever, is that, they just get the benefit of the doubt because ESPN pushes them so that everyone thinks that all their teams are so great that then whenever one team beats another team, then, they don't get, penalized the way they should. And honestly, that's the other point I wanted to make. If the College Football Playoff Committee is going to push this narrative that we're going to reward playing good teams and not reward playing bad teams, that should go for conference play as well. When you've got Northwestern losing to Tulane and you've got Stanford losing to Hawaii, then you need to punish whatever ACC team is playing Stanford or Big Ten team is playing Northwestern that week. The same could be said for a lot of teams. But these schools that they're getting these huge paychecks like that, if you are that bad, get them out. Get them out of that conference. Give somebody else. Imagine what WVU would do with the payday that a Big Ten team is getting. We do so much. That goes for almost any team in the Big 12. You got to respect what the Big 12 schools do with their resources. Think about like a Kansas State or an Iowa State or something. They don't have these huge $100 million+ athletic budgets that Big Ten schools and SEC schools do. Even the worst team in these conferences are getting like $100 million from TV deals and stuff like that. And then they go out there and win 3-4 games a year. Get them out. Kick them out. Let somebody else in there. Get somebody more deserving in there. I really wish that we would go to a relegation system, kind of like what they have in like the soccer leagues over in Europe, where if you finish in the bottom 3 or 4 of the conference, kick them out, bring somebody else up. I'd like to just see that. That might be a whole video in itself, to just go to a big 64-team super conference and, divide it up FBS, FCS, whatever, and kick out bottom teams and bring up better teams. I don't know. I'd much rather see that than this crap we've got going on now. Anyway, there's a little dim rant for you to end the video. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. I'll be probably making another video this weekend after the WVU Ohio game. Let's go Mountaineers, and have a great rest of your weekend. Cheers, everybody.